This is part 2 of the presentation for English 350, 355. We're reviewing for a quiz scheduled for January 24th. The first part of this presentation was entitled Finding Subjects and Verbs and More. This one is about Chapter 25, Finding Fragments. Remember how we started the presentation on subjects and verbs and more. A sentence is a group of words that expresses a complete thought. A simple sentence consists of a single independent clause with one subject and one verb. Let's take a look at this example sentence. The actors in the play were very talented. Okay, what is the subject of the sentence? The subject of the sentence is the actors. The sentence is about the actors. What's the verb? We see a linking verb, were. We have a preposition in the play. That's a prepositional phrase. We want to cross that out. Actors were, so that's our subject and the verb. It expresses a complete thought. On the other hand, a fragment is an incomplete sentence. So if you have just these 5 words, the actors in the play did what? Were very talented. Who was very talented? There's no subject in that sentence. Because they were very talented, we have a subject, they, we have a verb, but we don't have a complete thought. Because they were very talented, what happened? They got positive reviews, they moved to another city. We're not told, so it's an incomplete thought. Several different types of fragments to recognize. Chapter 25 goes over these in detail. So we have missing subject fragments. He packed his books and papers and took an umbrella. Notice that these last 4 words start with a capital letter, finish with a period, but it's not a sentence because there's no subject. Who took an umbrella? He did. Phrase fragments, you have what they call appositives. So that's when you just have words that further describe a noun. He decorated his room brown and black. You have prepositional phrase fragments. She promised to stand by him in sickness and in health. And infinitive fragments. He dropped out of school to start his own business. You may remember from an earlier slide, to start, that's called an infinitive verb. It's not a prepositional phrase. There are 2 other types of fragments, ing fragments and dependent clause fragments. They will not be on the quiz on January 24th. They will be on the next quiz. Here are the answers to practice 25-1. This is where you had to indicate whether a group of words was a fragment or a sentence. So for instance, in number 1, to save as much as possible for college. That's an incomplete thought, so that's going to be a fragment. Number 2, the judge gave her a 2-year sentence. We have a subject, right? The judge. We have a verb, gave. It's a complete thought, so that's a sentence. A birthday on Christmas Day, that's clearly a fragment. You've got no verb in there. Let's go to the next slide. Here are the answers to practice 25-2. So in this exercise, you needed to indicate which words were fragments and also how to fix them. So for instance, in number 1, doctors discovered that football players were losing electrolytes and carbohydrates through their sweat. What is that? That's actually a prepositional phrase. Through is a preposition. Through their sweat is a prepositional phrase. So a great way to fix it is to just combine it with the previous sentence. Note below. Doctors discovered that football players were losing electrolytes and carbohydrates through their sweat. So please take a minute to double check your responses against this. Practice 25-3 asks you to correct missing subject fragments. So you can correct them through one of 2 different methods. Either combine it with the previous sentence or just add a subject so that you don't have a missing subject fragment. So number 1, quitting smoking is difficult. but is really worth the effort. Okay, so you make that a complete sentence by saying quitting smoking is difficult, but is really worth the effort. Or you could have quitting smoking is difficult, but it is really worth the effort. Then you would have a subject in that sentence. And you have 2 and 3 on here. And let's go to the next slide for the rest of the answers. So you see 4 through 10 on this page. You might want to pause the slide here and double check your answers against this page. Practice 25.4 involves identifying phrase fragments. So you write an F next to the words that are phrase fragments. You'll see in number 1, mazes challenge people to find their way. So there you have a subject, mazes, challenge is the verb, so that's a complete sentence. 2, however, is not. Through a complicated route. So through is a preposition, through a complicated route is a fragment. If you go to the next slide, you'll see the rest of the responses to 25.4. Here you have the rest of that paragraph. Check your rewrite against this. And that's it for today. Good luck studying for this quiz on the 24th, and I will see you on Monday.